a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi. To all my friends and relatives in four directions, you are listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. We discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, you are right, Dega, and this portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Well, again, I'm right once a day, and I really appreciate it, Chujunk.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, been a long day for me, working hard, and I'm in, as you know, in New York, and the weather is beautiful here, but I hear you got some thunderstorms and rain happening there in the Midwest.
Yeah, do we have some thunder beings on their way? Well, it has clouded up quite a bit, but I won't complain. We always need rain.
Yeah, we need Wendy on the show because she loves doing the weather. It sounds like you don't know what the weather is, Haley.
Well, it was sunny all day. I mean, blue sky, hot as heck, which I'm not a huge fan of the heat, so it's a little too humid for me. I'm a baby.
No, I'm with you. You have an old soul, and us old people don't like the heat. Oh,
yeah. I'll stay in my AC, luckily.
Hey, tomorrow I'll be doing a secret assignment in the New York City in the Bronx, and we're going to have Arvina Martin guest host. And I know you're excited, Haley, to get a break from me.
Oh, no. We love you, Dega. We can't do the show without the host, but Arvina Martin is a really great filler. And yeah, I'm excited. I love our all Ho-Chunk show, especially when it's an all-girl show. I think that's always really fun. So excited to get her back on. And another, I believe our guest right now that we have on, has she guest hosted before too?
I don't know. I don't think so, but we should trick her into it sometime.
Well,
let's get her on.
Hey, Ruth Buffalo.
Hi, Dosha. Good to see you both.
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. It's great that you're becoming a semi-regular here on Tuesday nights and checking in on the great work that you're doing. And of course, I want to introduce you to everybody because they know you as one of our representatives of the Dakotas there, but you're now president and CEO of Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, and we're always great to hear updates and what's happening in that realm.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we had another amazing, beautiful day here at Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center. We had a cool event downstairs, a kinship care support group, and so it sounded like it was amazing. There was wild rice hot dish that was served and a lot of sharing and coming together, and it's the first of many support group convenings for our relatives who provide kinship care for their relatives.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about what kinship care is to our listeners out there?
Sure. It's basically, in short, it's when our relatives step up and step forward and lean in to take care of their relatives so that it prevents their relatives from going into different systems. So our Family Services Department here at MIWRC has two ICWA, Indian Child Welfare Care Act kinship workers who do a lot of outreach and support for our relatives who are taking care of their relatives. And it's to ultimately keep families together, strengthen that family unit while being rooted in our values as tribal peoples.
Yeah, that is awesome, and I believe that it's so important to talk about that too. It's with ICWA and things that we need. Minnesota, unbelievably, has one of the highest, if not the highest, percentage of Native kids in foster care.
Yes, I remember that statistic loud and clear. And yes, and I know, within this past year, 2 years, there's been a lot of movement at the state legislative levels to codify, ICWA and to make sure that there are protections in place for our relatives. But yes, it's crazy, right? Because I think when we look back at the timeline of federal Indian law and policy, was it 1977, the American Indian Religious Freedom Act was enacted, but then wasn't there an overlap too? I know with VAWA, or the prosecution of non-natives, those rights were stripped, I think, with a year later. And then also ICWA, something with ICWA also happened around that same time. So it was kind of like a high and a low, so
yeah.
But yes, it's there's definitely a lot of work that needs to be done, but it's beautiful to see our relatives stepping up and stepping forward to ensure that our relatives stay together and provide that wraparound love that is needed, and that is and always has been existing within our communities. Because I think back to this really horrible letter to the editor that was written when I was in office in North Dakota regarding ICWA. And it was just terrible how politicized our Native children are, as a result. But there was a terrible letter to the editor that was written that said, Native children, that they're best to find love in a non-Native family, because a Native family wasn't capable of giving that love and nurture. And it was like, what? And so I remember at that time, NARF and other national, NICWA, they all were able to write a response to that letter to the editor, so it's just, so yeah. That comes to mind.
Yeah, well, and we appreciate that. That's crazy that people think that way, and to bring that up, I appreciate that. It's sometimes we're in an insulated world, and I know there was a blood memory. The star of blood memory was Sandy Whitehawk, and I asked her years ago on this show, what can we do for parents? How can we support parents? And she said something really interesting that it's always stuck with me, that give them the money that you would give somebody for foster caring. Give the family the money so they can keep the children within their family. And I know with the economy the way it is for a lot of us, it's hard for single mothers, and we all have to step in. All the family members have to step in and help. Even married couples, it's just really, really expensive now, Ruth.
Yes, completely. We are in challenging times, and that was quite honestly one of the most common remarks that were always shared to me, even when I was in office from 2018 to 2022 in North Dakota, representing South Fargo, District 27. But that was one of the most consistent comments that I would receive from people across the state, was that relatives want to step forward and care for their loved ones, but the monetary, not having the means to do so, was always a barrier. And so I know there's work to address that, to alleviate that barrier, and now we have, kinship is being uplifted and amplified. So that's a beautiful thing.
It really is, and I'm so happy you're on here giving us updates, because what the work you guys do is so important, and people need to know about it. So, hey, we're here with Ruth Buffalo, and we, the president and CEO of Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Unwanted sexting or photos, inappropriate jokes, even tickling or wrestling can feel like a violation. Catcalling, cornering, or groping, getting them drunk or high for sex, recording sexual acts without permission, hurting someone because of their sexual orientation, raping a family member, a child, a date, a friend, a stranger, purchasing a human being for sex. You make the choice every single time. Sexual violence is many things. Make a choice. Do not do it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950. As we gear up for American Indian Celebration Month in May, it's crucial to prioritize our health, especially with celebrations on the horizon. If you start feeling off, like a fever, a tickle in the throat, or heavy fatigue, don't ignore it. Take an at-home COVID-19 test right away. And remember, if you're not feeling well, it's okay to stay home. Your health comes first. A quick note on COVID testing. The Minnesota Department of Health's free COVID-19 at-home testing program has ended. But don't worry. If you're uninsured, you can still find no-cost tests using the CDC's COVID-19 testing locator. If you have health insurance, you might be eligible for free tests or reimbursement for testing expenses. Just ask your local pharmacy or health insurance provider for more information. Stay informed. Stay protected. Let's prioritize our health this American Indian Celebration Month in May and ensure our communities and elders remain safe and healthy. This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health. Visit health.state.mn.us.
Anine, I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic, or NAC, on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition. Can't hear you, Robert.
I was just talking to the dog here, and I happened to say we're here with Ruth Buffalo. Thanks, Haley. Ruth Buffalo, and she is the president and CEO of the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center. And we're really always excited to have you on and talk about the great work you're doing, and a lot of stopgapping here for our families and our people in need. And there's also great things going on there too. Let's talk about what's happening at the Resource Center.
Yeah, we have, let's see, we did have a SUD, substance use disorder informational session and training for tomorrow, but it sounds like it's going to be rescheduled. And so look out, be on the lookout for an update on that rescheduling of the SUD training. And we also have, I believe, medicine bag making on June 20th during the day or late afternoon. And then we're going to jump right into a taco fundraiser and I believe movie night on June 20th at the community room here at Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, 2300 15th Avenue South here in the Phillips neighborhood. And so we're, really trying to stabilize all of our existing programs. We have an amazing traditional birthing program with doulas. We have the drop-in center that is serves our, underserved too, I guess, but unhoused relatives, on the daily. And so just trying to find ways to stabilize our funding and our programs so that we can continue to keep our doors open, because we are, in a transformation in our organization, and it's going to take some time to stabilize our funding. So with that, if people wish to donate, that would be amazing. miwrc.org/donate. And so, yes, we are, working diligently to stabilize our funding, keep our doors open for 7 generations and beyond. because the work that our employees, our staff do here, like you mentioned, is so critically important to the community. The drop-in center, they actually connect a lot of our unhoused relatives to services. And they have a lot of success stories of connecting individuals to housing, getting housing stabilization there. We also have a housing navigator on board here, a Section 8 housing coordinator who does a lot of work. In a lot of our programs, there's overlap, with Nujamo, She Heals, sexual assault, domestic violence, human trafficking. So we definitely have a wraparound approach, wraparound services in-house where there's overlap from one department to the next. And then we have a learning center, and that program provides like the training to the public. Like we just finished a Native American curriculum training that is more tailored to non-natives, non-tribal people who do work and serve the Native tribal population. And so that was a 3-day training that was held late last week, and got to visit briefly with a couple of the trainers, and they're, just amazing people who love to come back and provide that training here every year. And it's super beneficial to the community.
Yeah, that sounds good. We get a lot of questions, and I really believe that's why Native Roots Radio has been so successful over the last 7 years, is that we have people like you speaking to our allies across Turtle Island here about things that are indigenous and how we feel and things like that. So it's so important. I got one quick question. What movie are you going to be showing?
That is to be determined. I know we've been throwing around, it's going to be a surprise, I believe, but I know we've been throwing around, different, just brainstorming. There's so many good favorites out there. But yeah, I believe that will be to be determined.
The curiosity approach. I like that.
Yeah.
Haley, you have any questions? I know you've been down there and you see the great work that they're doing.
Yeah, I know. I was really excited to hear about the curriculum training, because just over my experience working with behavioral health professionals, and especially like some of our white allies, they always seem to have questions, and I don't always feel like I have the right answers. So I feel like the curriculum training at Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center is just a really great resource. And I guess, is this just a one a year type of thing? Or are you guys going to hold more trainings throughout the year?
That's a really good question. Right now, I believe it is annually, but I think, if there's a demand, of course, we'll for sure meet that demand. And I think one exciting thing that we're a part of too here at MIWRC is that we are also a part of the Indigenous, Earth Justice Collaborative. We just had a meeting today with the different partners, and it's exciting as we ramp up efforts to, help with the bringing something to fruition that has been in the works for the past 2 years, of the first Indigenous birthing center to be housed here in South Minneapolis is pretty amazing. So it's pretty cool to hear, the different key partners at the table, like Dr. Anthony Stately, his wife Ramona, are, leading those efforts. So it's pretty cool to see that this is now coming to fruition. And, after the bill was, it was an appropriations bill that was passed in the Minnesota state legislature. So it's pretty exciting and cutting edge, and it's awesome to be a part of it.
Well, and I don't know if people realize we got over 28 stations across the country that are listening to you right now. I don't know if they realize how great of a place you are, where we have all these other groups you talked about, Dr. Stately, all these other Native groups down the Franklin corridor to work with, and it's a great place to be. A big population of urban Indians here in Minneapolis.
For sure. I mean, it's it is a breath of fresh air. I mean, it's it is amazing to see the good work, the good heart work that is here, and that continues to be. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So we got a couple more minutes. What I always have to honor my wife because she always says with our guest, ask them what they want to talk about. So we got a couple minutes here. That's spitball what you'd like to talk about or promote or whatever's going on. How's your new house? I mean, it's now that you've moved here in Minnesota and how long does it take to be a true Minnesotan? A few years? I know you've been here before.
Yes. So yeah, the boy twin is here with me this week. So it's been fun. And we both, we stayed in the new place last night on some cots, but we're hoping to check out one of our favorite spots here. It's pretty beautiful in this amazing area. We went there yesterday evening and then found a new little restaurant to check out, and he approves of it, the boy twins. So he wants to return there tonight after we go back to the same spot to go, enjoy being out in nature and getting some walking in. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to, having more of my family members here with me. And I think that's going to be super nice, and looking forward to that.
Well, you talk about your secret place. Minnesota, I mean, the Twin Cities have such nice urban, urban lakes, urban falls, urban rivers. It's beautiful here.
It is. It really is. I enjoy the drive to work. I mean, there's a couple different ways to get here, but there's one in particular that I like the scenery. It's a lot of green, so yeah, it's beautiful here. It is for sure very beautiful.
Well, I just want to say, and Haley will amplify this, that we are so happy to be with you on Tuesdays, but also that you're here in the Minnesota and the Twin Cities helping our big community out. And I just can't say enough, right, Haley?
Oh, yeah. Well, it takes, a really great big leader to help a community like this, and especially a woman leader. So, just really happy to have you here, and thanks for being our Tuesday guest.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think just the common theme for me is just healing. It just seems to be a lot of healing taking place and mutually. So it's beautiful to be a part of.
Yeah, well, this is Ruth Buffalo, Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center CEO and President. A big Peeny Gigi, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm going to have to follow you and see where you and your family are going there.
I know. It's like, if you can watch, we'll run into each other and we'll be like, hey.
Yeah, exactly. I know that place. I walked there. It's got a falls and everything. Hey, thanks. Thanks, Ruth. We'll see you next week, or if not before, out on the avenue and in the community.
Lots of good odds.
Right on. Wow, we enjoy having Ruth on, Haley.
Yeah, always really a great conversation when we have Ruth Buffalo on.
Hey, we got State Representative Heather Keeler up next, and we got a lot to talk about with her. And you are listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us. The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Hi, I'm Chuck Manette, owner of Native Concrete and Masonry. With concrete and masonry adding substantial value to your home, it's always a great idea to repair your sidewalks or just add a beautiful new patio. Cracks or heaving in your sidewalks due to tree roots can be dangerous. Native Concrete and Masonry has helped clients across the metro to make their outdoor space safer and helped increase the value to their homes. For patios, sidewalks, driveways, or garage slabs, go to nativeconcretemasonry.com.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus over 30 extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl. J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Why must the world be so cold? They've gone against what was told. Thinking rape is cool, think about it. They think it's not wrong, violence against women, the rape, the abuse, the emotional, physical. They all hold the hate, think about it. Is it right or wrong? What attracts you? I'm not saying no names, but you laugh. Talk about it like nothing is wrong. Think about it. They all hold the hate. Gotta stop the violence. Stop the hate. Think about it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
For the past decade, Four Sisters Farmers Market has been working to bring healthy and affordable food to Indigenous communities and surrounding neighborhoods. Join the celebration for Opening Day, June 6th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. They'll have over a dozen vendors, like the new Powwow Grounds food truck, Fry Bread Factory, and music by Afro-Indigenous artist James Harbin. Four Sisters Farmers Market in Minneapolis is opening on Thursday, June 6th from 11 to 3. Discover more on their social media accounts.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Showers and thunderstorms tonight with a low of 56. More rain and storms possible Wednesday with a high of 76. Country star Orville Peck is bringing his Stampede Tour to the Armory in Minneapolis next Tuesday, June 11th. We're giving away tickets all this week on the Matt McNeil Show. Listen during the 4 p.m. hour for your chance to win.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native Concrete and Masonry, working with clients to design, perform, create, and accomplish. Check out their work at nativeconcretemasonry.com.
Or call them at 612. Oh, it went down.
Oh.
Pop that up again. 612-597-0421. 597-0421. Oh,
nice.
You're messing with me today, Haley.
I didn't know you never read those.
Well, I got to keep you on your toes. Hey, we are with Heather Keeler, representative, soon to be senator someday, and
never.
Never, she says.
Well, before we get into, we just had to put some tobacco out for you for the last day of session. Oh my goodness, how abusive are these Republicans? The news did not really give its due on how bad things were, and so we just say a big peeny gigi thank you for putting up with all that, and for our people.
Yeah. I think that's part of the gig, right? And I think we saw it in, the community and the state saw it in the last couple minutes or the last hour. And the truth is, that's just kind of what we deal with in the legislation all the time. There's a majority and a minority, and we both have our roles, and there's a time frame. The athlete in me often thinks of it as a sport. Our goal is to get as much good done for Minnesota in the time frame that we have. and the opposition or the defense, is to try to stop us from doing that. And so there was hours of filibustering on things like cheeseburgers and that pig sweat. And, I think that Minnesotans in general want us to be having intellectual, robust conversations about meaningful policies that really matter. And though it kind of looked weird at the end, we did what we had to do to get the budget bills that really matter to all of Minnesotans across the finish line. And so for that, we're proud of the work that we did. And we tried to play as nice as we could until we just couldn't anymore. And I'm really proud of our leadership for the way that she handled it. Our speaker, Hortman, did a fantastic job in a really crucial time. So thanks for the tobacco and the prayers. It's taken us a while to all recover from that. But leading up to that, we're on the floor 12 to 14 hours a day for days in a row for months. And so it was exhausting. So we're all kind of recovering from that and back on the campaign trail.
Yes, can't wait. The exciting time for us in Minnesota. And I know people that listen to us all over the country are really envious about what we have going on here in Minnesota. And, State Representative Heather Keeler, you're a huge, huge part of that. And especially when it comes to our native voice. And I just want to say a big peeny gigi.
Yeah, well, it's an honor to do this work. It's hard and it's emotional. And I feel like every 2 years I have to really do a deep dive and do I want to keep doing this work? And the hard is really hard, but the reward is so worth it. And I put a post up on my social media today saying we need more people to run in these positions. And my story is not fantastic. I'm a single mom. I, was an Indian education liaison for a long time. I went to school in my late 30s to get my bachelor's and my master's. I'm running around chasing my oldest kid to all of his sports. I'm struggling with Indian education PTAC. You know what I mean? I'm an everyday person. And it matters to have those of us who are similar to me and my story in our seats, whether it's school board, county commission, your mayor, it doesn't have to be state or federal seats. And so, it's hard, but we need to be here. And I hope that our stories encourage other people to be here. Because the truth is we don't have the capacity to last as long because of how hard it is on us. And so we're back at it.
Yeah. Well, just to take a quick pause, I want to give you a big congratulations on your oldest son graduating. And what a proud mother and what a proud community we have for your son. And just the future's so bright. And obviously it's reflection on his mother.
Yeah. Now you're going to make me get emotional because, I can talk about a lot of things. Talking about my kids, man, being a single mom and really fighting against a lot of the poverty standards and, busting through some of these ceilings is hard. But being able to watch my kid graduate and go to college and he's going to play football at college and college was always part of our conversation was just so powerful. I came from a generation that college was not something that was common to me. The generation before me was definitely not that. Before that, it was boarding schools, and so it's been really moving to watch the transition of generational power through education, with my kid. And he's, one of the things he did was he smudged at the beginning of every football game, and he really hopes to do that at college. And so not only is he smart and he finished school, he's also carrying this cultural component to it, which makes me so proud in many ways.
Yeah, well, and we hold on to the pride too as a community, and knowing you and my buttons were busting too, and it's a community thing. And I hate to be a cliche, it takes a village, but it definitely takes a village to support. And I feel like Wendy and I and Haley love you and support you and your family whenever we see you. It's always a good feeling.
It really is. It's Matakiape. That's our relatives. That's who we are. And I am so grateful for all the communities that I have that really have become family to me. And you guys were the first, I feel like we talk a lot about our first conversations over 5 years ago, really getting into this idea of do I even belong in these spaces? And I think the answer is yes, I absolutely belong, and more of us do as well.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, I want to just before we get into what's going on around this, the Twin Cities and what you're doing. I see you have a excellent mic there, and you're going to be podcasting soon. I hear.
That's the goal. Yeah, I mean, it's always been an idea to share the messages of hope with people. And I talk a lot about busting through glass ceilings. There's been these invisible barriers for many of us to get into spaces, and it's hard to bust through glass ceilings. It's painful. But leaving those glass crumbs or breadcrumbs for the next generation so that, once we get into these spaces that were not designed for us, more people can follow. And I think it's a really powerful move. And so, yep, Glass Crumbs is going to be the podcast. We're going to be interviewing people who are in spaces doing fantastic things and having honest conversations about what maybe the next generations or other people need to hear to get into those spaces as well. And a message of hope, encouragement, and inspiration.
Well, I hope you come on before you release it so we can really get a big push out there for our listeners to listen on in. And so we're excited to again support you in your journey. I don't know if we've talked about this, but I've talked to other guests recently about when we were doing the Sunday night symposiums. Mm-hmm. And we heard about Heather Keeler, and everyone was excited that she she ended up signing up for state representative instead of, I think it was school board, right?
School board. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and the buzz was out there, and we were able to get you on in between your campaigning during the middle of COVID. And I mean, those are just powerful memories that I have, and I know Wendy has in our relationship with you and your journey.
I feel like we used the radio station to make sure our relatives were okay. Like, it was just such a different time, and it was such a powerful movement for us to join in that moment. Like, we weren't talking about go out and vote because it's the right thing to do. We were like, hey, how are you? Are you doing okay? Oh, and by the way, you should vote too. Like, it was just a very different world. And it feels like a long time ago, but really not that long ago. So yeah, that was meaningful.
Yeah, and we had people from all over Turtle Island. I remember when Trump tried to delist one of the first tribes that the Mayflower met, and we had him on, the leader there, and it was just like, it was weird timing, and we had 20,000 people listening to us on just Facebook Live because it was the Sunday night symposium.
We should do that again. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, now that you got a nice mic, I'm going to have big help from you then. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, that's why I got the mic.
Right on. Hey, there's some things going on this week or the next week or so, and I know that are near and dear to your heart, and I know we've talked about it here on Native Roots Radio with Dr. Staley, but the grand opening of Red Lake Nation College is something that everyone should be applauding for.
Yes. So this is something that I take a lot of pride in. I think President Dan King is actually listening. I was like, hey, I'm going to talk about it. But, it was one of the first things I was able to do as a legislator in a very, very bipartisan way, because when I came in 2021, the Senate was in the Republican control. And so we really had to work, together to get things done differently than we did in this most recent term. And so I remember having a conversation with Dan King, and he's like, we need money because tribal colleges don't get any money. And I remember thinking that's the silliest thing. The return on investment when we invest in us and through education, we bring that back to our communities trifold at a minimum. And so I committed to him, not only because he's stellar and the movement in which Red Lake Nation College is moving is fantastic and I'll support it forever, but just my history in education and how powerful it was to me, and knowing that, everybody says representation matters. And this is that. It's representation in the middle of a metropolitan city. I mean, it's beautiful. The facility is one of the most fantastic facilities I've ever seen. It overlooks US Bank Stadium. Like, it's phenomenal, and it is going to empower our next generation. And I'm so proud of it. So yep, it's Thursday, kicks off at 2, goes until 6. I encourage everybody to stop by and get to know what's in your community, and get engaged, because I mean, education is definitely where it's at. The work we've been able to do through bonding, and ongoing support to make sure that they have the operational money that they need to continue to grow. We'll be celebrating. So hope you guys can join us.
Hey, we're here with State Representative Heather Keeler of the great state of Minnesota. And what a great job you do on the radio. And you're going to have a great podcast. We're going to be back after this short break and talk a little bit more about Red Lake Nation. And also, we got to talk about Pride, too. We got a big show going on during the parade. And we'll be marching in the parade. And maybe you'll be down for the parade. I'm not sure, Heather. We'll be right back.
Attention, Native American community. As we prepare for American Indian Celebration Month in Minnesota this May, it's essential to prioritize the health and safety of our communities. With social gatherings and festivities on the horizon, getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is crucial. So let's make getting vaccinated a tradition, inclusive, and cross-generational. Imagine gatherings filled with shared stories and cultural celebrations, free from the shadow of COVID-19. Remember, protecting yourself and others is what counts. Whether it's time for an updated vaccine or your first shot, all COVID-19 vaccines offer protection, with the latest vaccine especially recommended for our elders over 65. As we gather with friends and relatives this May for American Indian Celebration Month, let's ensure everyone's safety by getting vaccinated. Together, we can uphold our traditions and keep our communities thriving. For more information, including details about clinics offering free vaccines, visit vaccines.gov. This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health.
Do you have a personal financial goal like buying a car, starting a business, saving for college, or investing for retirement? Whatever your goal is, you need a plan. It might seem overwhelming, but like physical fitness, you can gradually improve your financial health step by step. Start by creating a spending plan, improving your credit score, opening a bank account, or finding a trusted advisor. Not sure where to start? Visit mn.gov/commerce/money for more.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Oh! Wait, I don't think Heather howled with us. Did you howl with us?
She's on mute.
Oh, I made that mistake earlier in the show. I was talking. Well, we're here with State Representative Heather Keeler, and a lot going on in the Twin Cities. I want to give a big shout out to this is Pride Month, and I don't know if you know, but we're going to be doing a live show on Saturday at Pride, and we're going to also be in the parade. So I want to throw that out to you as an invite if you want to join us and come to the parade and march with us and get one of those rainbow resist shirts we have.
You have a rainbow resist shirt, and I need to be first on the list to receive one of those, first of all.
Same. I'm like, I don't even know if I have that.
Right? See? Tell me when they're ready. I'm not sure what my plans are. I feel like Pride is always so busy. And that's also the same weekend that I have Sundance back home. And so, like, there's just pieces to the puzzle that we have to try to get to. But it was cool. We walked in the Pride parade last year, and it was fantastic. I've never experienced a space with so many people celebrating like queer love, right? So it was pretty cool. I love that for you guys.
Yeah, 500,000 people on the parade route. So I don't know if you know about this about me, Heather, but I had the opportunity in 2014 to do the Macy's Day Parade, and there's 4 million people on the parade route, but this is a lot shorter route and more condensed, so it'll
Wait,
be
what did
fun.
you do for the Macy's Day Parade?
Well,
Were
this is
you in
interesting.
like
So
a band?
yeah, so it's interesting.
Oh.
So we're on 28 other stations in Wisconsin, and I can say this. I was in the Madison Scouts Drum and Bugle Corps, and we had the alumni for the last 100 years being it. So we had like 300 members. But I got some TV time too. I was out of step, but I got some
Wow.
TV time.
Out of step. Your rhythm. I love that. Great job. Great job. You were famous long before you were famous.
Always a legend in my own mind.
Mhm.
So what else is going on with you up there? I know you got to prepare. We want to really support and get the candidates on. We got the big national convention in Chicago coming in the DNC. All these things are
Mhm.
happening, and it's exciting and scary for me at the same time.
Yeah. So for us in Minnesota, what's happening today, it's Tuesday. So whether you hear this on a repeat or not, right? Today was the last day that candidates running for a state seat could file. And so that's kind of when we know what the races look like, who is out there, if there's any primaries or any challengers. I didn't get a Republican challenger until this afternoon. And so, it's nice because for us now, it really launches the campaign season. We know who our opponents are, we know what to do, and we know the plan. So yeah, getting into that, but also just because we were in the majority, we don't want to get complacent with that. It takes a lot of work to get out into communities. And as you guys know, I'm a greater Minnesota member and like far greater Minnesota. Like I live 4 hours away from the cities. And so I'm not a suburb. I'm not, stone's throw away from the cities. But I'm also not a rural community. Often people think if you're outside of the metro area, that we're these really small rural communities. And the truth is, Moorhead is not that. We're 40,000 people. We have a robust school system and 3 higher education institution systems here. And so I really try to be a voice for the greater Minnesota cities. And so I'm going to be doing a lot of work in Bemidji and Duluth and down in Winona and Rochester and Mankato to really engage our community just in voting. We don't have great voter turnout. And to be quite frank, like, I don't care who you vote for. I mean, I have my preference who I vote for and my reasons. But at the end of the day, it's democracy and we all need to get involved. And, to have some communities that are in the 40% of voter turnout is just not accurate for the voice of Minnesota. And so, my goal in this campaign is obviously to win again, but to also encourage people to engage in our election cycles because I think it's really important, but also to encourage and inspire people to hopefully run for something or get involved in a campaign. We have to have really powerful teams around us to win campaigns. And so if anybody's interested in getting engaged in that capacity, there's plenty of members that would love support. Especially those of us who come from underrepresented communities. Leash Kozlowski's got some work to do up in Duluth. We have Michael Reyes that's running in 2B out in Leech Lake and White Earth area. And so we need to keep the Native Caucus strong as well, because as you know, Jamie Becker-Finn retired, and that's going to be a huge loss for us in the Native Caucus and what we can do in Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly. And what a great job Jamie has done, and she deserves a break for sure because, boy, when there was a majority, they were, what was it, about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even shorter, they were mean to her. There were people coming at her that was just so disrespectful, and I know you get that too, but it's just like it was all over the news, and it was just totally insane. Yeah, voting, and one of the things that I always want to talk about is to get those young ones to vote too for the first time, because once they do that, Heather, they're a voter for life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and realizing that your voice matters, because I think too, there's this idea that like, well, I'm just one voice and it doesn't really matter. And if you look at the margins, in which some people are winning their seats, we're talking 10 votes, 15 votes, 20 votes. Like, that's you and your crew getting in a car and making sure you and your family go and vote. And so these state races are so important, especially for the House, because we're the smaller of the constituencies. It's really our responsibility to show up and be the voice for people. But it's also important for the people to show up to be a voice for themselves. And that happens by voting. And so, you're right. I work with a lot of our high schoolers. I go into our government classes and I kind of just humanize, like, who are your legislators and what decisions do we make that impact your life? And instantly they're like, what? State legislators do all of these things? And it's like, we definitely do all of the things. And so it's important to get involved.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And, with Wendy's advocacy, I've had my opportunities to come to the Capitol, whether it's saving wolves or talking about education. And so coming and visiting legislators is welcomed by the legislators, and you find out they're real people and they have real concerns and they do listen.
Mm-hmm. And we're stretched very thin and super stressed. I think there's this idea that, we can respond to every email within minutes, or like have a suggestion or an idea to solve a complex situation right off the bat. And so we are human, and it takes us a while to learn and to grow. And that's why, too, I tell everybody, if you're going to reach out to me and yell at me, that's fine. But also educate me. I'm a lifelong learner, and I know that we have to approach situations kind of from a scientific mind frame and really being open to seeing where all the solutions can be. And some of those solutions aren't in my own brain. And so I ask people to educate us, educate me. Don't just be mean, because I think we're just mean to politicians when the truth is we're just people trying to do good work.
Absolutely. Hey, we got less than a minute left. State Representative Heather Keeler, I've gone the whole show without calling you Senator.
I mean, but you did start off saying I was gonna be a senator, which is not true either.
Big P Nagigi for being on and calling me on my stuff. Hey, if you're listening to the show, you're part of the resistance from Chief Plentycoops. The ground in which we stand on is sacred ground, is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, and vote. We're still here. We are the seventh generation.